But you look around the Big 12, and I think you start to understand that maybe this was not such a great weekend for the Big 12. And I know that we had really good football games, but I'm not trying to troll Texas Tech fans, but all of you that were in here, all of you that were in our comment section last week telling me I just hate Texas Tech, I don't know what I'm talking about, and that the university supports everything that's going on in the state. They clearly do not. And again, I think when we look at Tortilla Gate, the sad thing is we're not talking about Texas Tech football. We are talking about the unbelievable embarrassment that the actions of the fans in Lubbock have turned it into.
The stakes are too high, and we need to help, not risk penalizing our team again for throwing tortillas. Simply, let's not do it. The situation is on me. I leaned into this of throwing tortillas at the beginning of the football season. Now I must ask everyone to stop, and I must ask our staff to enforce it on game days. I close and will turn it over to Coach McGuire by asking our students and our fans to continue to make Jones AT&T Stadium the best environment in college football. And I don't know how they will do it, but I am confident that our fans and our students are about to make the Jones even louder than it's ever been before.
When your athletic director is having to say, stop doing this, and I'll go back. You look at the teleconference that they held the other day. I think you're watching this. This is turning into a really difficult situation in Lubbock.
Beginning this week, here is the policy. The first time a tortilla is thrown on the field, there's a PA announcement that's required as a warning. The second time a tortilla is thrown on the field, and they changed it. It's not the field, it's the playing enclosure. So even if it hits the sideline, if it hits behind the end zone, if it's in the playing enclosure, that second strike, it's a 15-yard penalty and a $100,000 fine.
What's there to talk about, bro?
What else? What else do we need to say? Now, it's become a real problem in Lubbock. You've got to stop. And now they're saying that they are going to be checking people for tortillas and discouraging them from bringing them in. Like, you got to fix it. If you're a Texas Tech fan, I don't hate Texas Tech I in any way, shape, or form. You're the one that's causing the problem. If you're a fan that is throwing things, including tortillas, on the field in Lubbock, you're causing the problem. And now you lost a football game. And which again, I know I pissed off everybody in West Texas when I said I think you're going to go to Arizona State and lose.
Dilly.
I told you this was going to be a very difficult game, and you wound up losing the game. And you start to understand now that this is the quarterback issue that I've been talking about. I don't think you have a number one quarterback in Lubbock. And this was supposed to be the weekend where you got away from Baron Morton and we're going to take off running. Well, that never happened. And I don't know if this is because you're on the road. I don't know if this is because Baron Morton's more important than any of us thought. But what I do know is this is now a real legitimate issue for Texas Tech. And I think at some point you're going to have to fix it.
I mean, and I also think that it's part of it is that, Kenny and, the Sun Devils came to play. I mean, Kenny talked a lot about how, they weren't, they'd gotten away from physical practices and gotten away from, that mentality of like, going full throttle in practice and like, just having that energy and that vibe. And they got back to that in this week of preparation. And I think, you see the fruits of that labor. And I think that, it's always a tough environment to go there. If you're Texas
Very
Tech,
tough.
but then, you double down on that with, hey, we had a great week of practice. We were super physical. We felt good. We were ready. And that's been Texas Tech's, calling card is, hey, we're going to come in here and we're going to kick your ass up front. And then we're going to run the football and then we're going to take shots. That's been their recipe for success. And so when that doesn't happen and when you're not able to, just blow out the competition and, impose your will, then you're playing a very different game. And I think that this is the first time that we really saw Texas Tech, be in trouble. I mean, you're watching this game and you're like, yeah, dude, like Tech's in trouble here. They're fighting for their life here, in this game. And it wasn't real clear how you were going to come back from that. And you end up running out of time and, it just played out. So I don't know, man. I think it was clear as day. Like if you didn't learn the BYU lesson last year, to me, Texas Tech is BYU from last year. You're undefeated. You had this great win. Everything's amazing. We're perfect. We can do whatever we want. We can throw things at other teams. Like, no problem, dude. Oh, that's right. Until you start losing games. And now we got to have a conversation about not throwing tortillas, where you stack up in the AP top 25, if you're going to make the college football playoff. Hell, if you're going to win the conference. Because now the conversation's kind of turned. Now it's not just a gimme that you're in the driver's seat to control this conference, because you're not now. You need help from BYU to get back into the driver's seat. And I don't think that anyone believes that BYU is going to go undefeated. I think they need to prove that. And, I'm glad to hear that they're talking about learning the lesson from last year, but you got to go out and prove it now. You got to go out and win the rest of the games on your schedule and keep Tech off your back.
Yeah, and what scares you is you start looking at the numbers on this game, and the stats don't lie. There was not a lot of pressure on Texas Tech's offense here. They were only blitzed 9 times. When they were not blitzed, their passing attack was rated a 65, which is not good. And it tells you that they just did not execute. And I think that's the hard part. And now we start looking at the way that this game played out. And listen, I'm not saying that Texas Tech is dead or a bad football team. I think you've got to figure out how to get Behren Morton to win games on the road against ranked opponents, because that is a huge, huge problem. And you go back and you look at the size of Sam Leavitt's testicles in this game, and you start to understand that those things, it's 2 hands. Boys, it's 2 hands. The way that he played, he clearly was not healthy. 319 and a touchdown, to absolutely throw footballs in places that only Jordan Tyson was going to catch them. I mean, that was a performance for the ages in Tempe. I think when you talk about why Sam Leavitt is so beloved, that's exactly why Sam Leavitt is so beloved, because that was incredible. I think it puts Arizona State smack dab in the middle of the Big 12 championship conversation. And obviously, I still think Texas Tech is elite. I don't know that we can rubber stamp them as the best team in this league anymore, because that just was simply not a good performance. And a lot of it is that you couldn't throw the football at will, and you couldn't run the football because Arizona State knew you couldn't throw the football. But this is the first time we've seen this offense go up against a defense that was not scared at all in any way, shape, or form. And that is what is concerning to me. The Arizona State offense just did what it wanted to do against what is supposed to be a very good defense, and that just did not materialize. Behren Morton in the quarterback situation should not have had any impact on the Texas Tech defense, yet it did.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, couldn't agree more. And I think that, again, I think that there's this sort of, like when you're undefeated and you go on the road to play a solid team, but that team has some injuries, and you feel like, oh well, we should beat this team even though they're pretty good. Like they're, if they were healthy, they'd be just as good as us. You go in there and you're just not like, you just didn't really show up the way you had the last several weeks. And every team, I feel like, in the Big 12 who's contending for a Big 12 championship has one of these weeks in the season. And then it's like, all right, well, is this going to turn into 2, 3, 4 weeks, or are you guys just able to flip this around? Because that's what happened with BYU last year. You were undefeated. You lost, or you beat Utah. You fell asleep. You lost 2 weeks in a row, I believe it was, and your season's over. And so for me, I look at this and I say, okay, well, now this to me is worst case scenario for the Big 12, because it would have been really nice if Texas Tech would have just basically autopiloted into the Big 12 championship, and then you could have had one other team like BYU go into the CFP with you, and then you could have been a 2-bid lead this year. But now I'm not so sure that that's possible, because now Texas Tech has to bounce back and find a way to keep their spot in the CFP for the or in the AP top 25 for the rest of the year, so they can continue to get into the CFP. And I just don't think that that's a guarantee at this point.
Yeah, and I think the BYU conversation is a very serious one. I mean, we need to have a conversation about how good this team is. You are clearly being hampered by a quarterback who is not able to throw you to wins. And this team now, I think, is wholly dependent on running the football. And Bear Bachmeier has to be a big part of that. And I think what we saw against Utah was Bear Bachmeier can make a throw or two that he has to make, but you cannot build your offense around him. But I think it's very interesting looking forward. Does beating Utah in the Holy War, especially in October, create a letdown?
I think last year we learned from last year. Last year we, beat Utah and then lost the next two, right? And this year, I think that's not going to happen. We have the mindset now, like, okay, we've learned from last year. Let's not do the same thing. Let's learn from our mistakes and move forward and keep winning games.
And I think that's the only thing you can do. But again, watching this game, like watching, this morning I'm looking at Bear Bachmeier, and he just is an awkward operator. I mean, there's no other way to put that. My biggest concern is he won't survive the season because he is taking explosive hits. And I don't want my quarterback. I've watched that play where he jumped over the Utah defender, and BYU fans treated this like it was the greatest thing you've ever seen. And this kid's a Heisman Trophy. There's a guy tweeting that Bear Bachmeier's a Heisman Trophy candidate. The enormity of elation and ejacularity that took place when Bear Bachmeier jumped over that Ute. Look, I get it. It's spectacular and it looks cool. I don't want my quarterback doing that.
Nope.
I don't want my quarterback leaving the ground. He jumps over a player. As soon as he lands, he's got a shoulder pad on his shin. And luckily, the cleat didn't stick. But that's a broken leg waiting to happen, right? Like, then he takes that Lander Barton hit because he's just exposed in the pocket and move it. Like, my biggest concern is he's putting himself in these unnecessary situations where he's taking these big hits because you can see that he does not trust what his eyes are seeing. And it's a big concern for me.
Yeah, I mean, it should be. And I think that part of it too, like, watching the game, I feel like part of it was that he was trying to, he was pressing clearly, in my opinion. I mean, I think there were many instances in this game, and it wasn't the whole game, but I felt like there were, the Lander Barton hit, there were several of them where I was like, dude, like, you're trying to do too much here. You're playing hero ball and you're not doing it the whole game. And it's certainly not defining your Holy War as a freshman, but there are just instances where it's like, dude, just it's the classic, just throw it away. Don't take the hit from the linebacker or the safety. Just throw the ball away. Live to fight another day. Like, don't try to do too much. Don't try to jump over guys and then get popped. Don't do that, man. Like, if this guy can just stay healthy, they're going to be fine. Because I agree, like, he's clearly a shortcoming for the team right now, but it's not enough of a shortcoming to where they can't compete to win the Big 12.
Because he's an elite runner.
Yeah.
Right? As far as production goes. But there's a couple of things about his passing game that really stand out. Everybody is pointing to the fact that he's one of the highest rated deep ball throwers in the Big 12. Do you guys understand? And I always say this, you got to understand the statistics. He's rated an 89 throwing a ball 20 yards or more down the middle of the field. He's rated an 89. Do you guys understand that throwing the ball deep left, he's rated a 59? So wait a minute. Let me get this right. You're 30 points less throwing the ball left. It should shock you that Bear Bachmeier is a 52 throwing the ball deep into the right side of the field. So you have speed, and he's really good at throwing that ball up and over the middle to let his guy run under it. But one of the things that almost beat them against Utah, and turnovers and some other, his inability to throw a ball deep down the sideline and keep it in play. You watch Bear Bachmeier, and that ball he throws deep consistently goes out of bounds on the sideline. And the other number that just jumps off the chart, and I don't know that I've ever seen a rating this low. When they do not run play action for him, he's rated a 28 as a passer. That is I've never seen a rating that low. So when they're running the football, BYU's a very good offense. If they do not run play action, no play action against Utah, he was rated a 28. That hurts my voice box just saying that. A 20, like, are you not shocked by that? I am shocked
terrible.
by that.
Yeah, it's terrible. I mean, I even for him, 28 seems, incredibly low.
A 28?
Obviously. Yeah.
Like 0 for 3. He cannot throw the ball to the right. Just forget it. You want to beat Bear Bachmeier and BYU, force him to roll right and keep him behind the line of scrimmage. You will beat BYU's offense. Because you look at the numbers, 0 for 3, 20 yards or more down the field, 0 of 2, 10 to 20 yards, 1 of 1, 0 to 10 yards. He is not good. And then you look at the numbers throwing left, 3 of 3 between 10 and 20 yards, 2 of 2 between 0 and 10 yards, 0 of 1 deep left, 1 of 2 deep center. You want him to throw the ball well, he's got to throw it center left. So I think if I know that, and if the tape is standing out to me, and if the facts are backing that up, the statistics are backing that up, that's a real weakness for BYU. And I just am curious, when you look at this game and you look at BYU versus Utah, I think it just needs to be said. BYU is a better football program than Utah right now. What is really painful for...
Here we go.
I don't know, man. What is really painful for Utah is that they just do not have skill position players. And you have this outstanding quarterback in Devin Dampier, who I thought had a hell of a game. And he's injured now, apparently. He has an ankle injury that could keep him out of the game this week against Colorado, which would be a big loss for them. But the level with which he played at, with 0 wide receivers and very limited running back production, it's shocking to me that you have no talent outside for him. You have an elite tight end, you have an elite quarterback, and that's it. That again, and I know we've talked about that ad nauseum on the show about Utah.
It's a defining factor and a defining characteristic of Kyle Whittingham football teams. It's really solid defense, can hang with the best of them, but can't score enough points and does not have dynamic enough talent outside to inflict their will on the defense. And that's the really hard part about what, Utah tried to do in this game is that you just couldn't, like they look for the big play, but the big play is not going to be there if the defense doesn't have to respect your speed, because that's the thing is that big plays are born out of the defense fearing your ability to go over the top. And no defense is scared of Utah going over the top.
No.
They're scared of Devin Dampier running underneath when they turn their back. That's what they're scared of. They're not scared of dude running by him. So that's the problem.
Yeah, I am. Yeah, Greg Hawkins. I'm sorry, buddy. I get it. Greg is a diehard Cub fan, such as in like myself. But I thought it was interesting. And I know we're not allowed to talk baseball. You turn that goddamn music off. Jake is such a jerk. I thought it was interesting. Did you guys see what the Brewers said? Oh, yeah, turn the music up, will you? We lost to the Brewers. We lost to the Dodgers because we left everything we had on the field to beat the Cubs. It was an emotional victory.
Oh.
We left our soul in that series. Well, maybe you cock. If you hadn't had an L flag in your celebration, maybe you could have actually, thrown a pitch.
Fuck you.
Yeah.
Fuck you. You suck.
Thank you. Exactly a quote for me watching them play the Dodgers.
Yeah, great season. Beat the Cubs only to get swept by the best baseball player of all time. Just an awesome season, dude.
Oh, so Sorry about your jutes. Surprised that SFU Mike Norvell didn't get fired. Too bad. Stanford losing to a bad Stanford football team. Well, we'll get into firings. I think that's true. Brandon Butler, big Pontiff. How about the great gambler on Friday? Show be dealing. Dude, the home run he hit.
Dude, goated. Goated performance, dude. Goated.
I left some of the boys on the carpet after that. It was pretty remarkable. That might be the best single game performance in the history of Major League Baseball.
10 Ks, 3 for 3, 3 home runs.
I don't
What
think
else
we've
is there?
ever seen it. I don't know that we've ever seen it. And as much as I believe he was the one betting on baseball, you're seeing exactly why they wouldn't rack him. They wouldn't do it. Yeah, he's incredible. He is incredible. Arguably a perfect game. Throwing the singular accomplishment of throwing a perfect game in the World Series that's going to be tough to beat. Sataki and with both made boneheaded calls going for it on fourth instead of taking the field goal. Listen, I think the sad part about the Holy War is I do believe it's the last Holy War for Kyle Whittingham. I think you are seeing that, and I love Whit. I am a huge Kyle Whittingham fan. The modern era of Utah football needs to arrive. And I don't say that lightly. If Kyle Whittingham is not willing to go out and find bros that can run the go route at 22, 23 miles an hour, we're watching the very best that Utah football will ever have to offer. Because you have an elite quarterback. And again, I will continue to say, I look at Devin Dampier and I'm telling you, he's playing elite football. And he's getting no help. The offensive line, the mental mistakes in totality by the Utah Utes, it's hard to overcome that.
Yes.
And I think the biggest issue is the coach in waiting, Morgan Scalley, is a defensive guy and a really good defensive guy. Can Morgan Scalley build an offensive staff, Jason Beck or otherwise? Can Morgan Scalley build an offensive staff that can go and find? They need 6 wide receivers. They need 3 running backs. I mean, you're not talented offensively. In this day and age, that you are unable to take the top off of defenses, I mean, don't get off the bus.
Yeah, I don't know what we're doing.
I mean, it is really difficult. And looking at Dampier's numbers, bro, I got to tell you that I think it is wild how efficient he is. It is really difficult to measure. I just can't tell you how impressive it is. And of course, I've got to find his number, but it is wild how impressive it is that he is able to operate at the level that he does with nothing.
Yeah, he runs his ass off, man. the guy runs his ass off. Runs around, running from the pressure, trying to make plays, trying to do things. And the problem is you can't do that against good defenses because they'll turn you over. Eventually, you will turn it over against a good defense. And that's what we've seen play out. And it's why you couldn't compete with Texas Tech. And yeah, sure, I don't care if Dampier's ankle hurt or not. He was out there. He was running around. He was doing his thing, and you had 2 turnovers in that one because you were behind and chasing the game. And that's really the issue. And I think that the unfortunate part is, like, you did get behind the defense in the Tech game and you still shot yourself in the foot with that penalty by Fano. So I just think the team is the program for me needs some kind of injection. It needs the Tech treatment. It needs like, hey, we're going to go and get younger at head coach. We're going to get more enthusiastic personality wise. I never see Whit doing commercials. I never see him on social media. I don't see him around. You have to step your game up, bro. And I love Whit. He's had an incredible career. but at some time, enough is enough. And what's frustrating is it feels like this team and its core is good enough, and it just feels like you didn't do a good enough job on the perimeter to compete in these big games where you need your best receiver to go down the field and make a play when you've got nothing going on to break the game open your way.
And the sad thing about Dampier's numbers is that when you look at his likelihood for success on balls that he threw was 94.7%. He completed, and I'm just going to double check this number. He completed 62.5%. So what that means is 30% of the balls he threw should have been caught, and they simply were not caught. Do you know on his percentage of passes that were in jeopardy, like throws that could have been intercepted? Do you guys understand that this dude threw 37 passes? One pass out of 37 was likely for interception. That's how efficient he was passing the football. And and this is what I love about PFF, by the way, because stats don't tell you a story. You have to look at a wide variety of them. You have to understand what they mean, how to apply them. You look at just the efficiency and the likelihood for success numbers. Devin Dampier is off the charts. Off the charts, and he just doesn't have offensive talent to make it happen. That's what's so frustrating. He's putting the ball in the right place. They can't catch it. And he is so good. One of the numbers that really stands out to me, under pressure and when he's blitzed, his likelihood for interception, 0. When he was blitzed and under pressure, 0% for turnover. That's unbelievable. That's unbelievable. And they were really never in danger of winning the game. That's what's so disgusting about their offense. And it's why they won't make the college football playoff. It's why, in all likelihood, at the end of the season, Kyle Whittingham is going to retire. And it's why you are, and I know we've talked about this. Mm-hmm. We need to see a complete change in style and attitude about offense.
Which is why Morgan Scalley being the coach in waiting concerns me.
Man, I can't even tell you the seismic change that will come to Utah football. Oh, fuck.
And here we go. I mean, we're like, dude.
Shut the fuck up, Donnie. Shut the fuck up, Donnie. Shut the fuck up, Donnie.
Devin,
you had a good season, dude.
Devin Dampier was a nice young boy. He treated everybody with respect.
It was at this moment that he knew he fucked up.
Devin, Donnie, same thing. Devin Dampier,
God.
On the day that we lay his football career to rest, I hope that you will remember him fondly. And when Oak State James puts a plaque of Devin Dampier on Oak State James, his own headstone, along with right next to Preston Stone's cock, I hope that you guys will remember just how passionate Oak State James was about destroying people's lives.
Hi, this is James. Welcome back.
This announcement presented by Manischewitz.
Yay!
The TCU Jimmy curse.
Macaque.
Oh my God. He does, but Payson Cougar fan, he's going to die now that Oak State James TCU Horny James has endorsed him. Do you know what a fraud you are bro? Do you understand? It's not that you're right or wrong. Everything you say is death. I mean, we can go right down the list.
Jake Retzloff is the best quarterback in the state of Utah.
Monty,
He's not here
you
anymore,
convinced
bro.
me. Monty, you convinced me. Jake Retzloff, all world. Breaking news. Jake Retzloff had sex. Now you don't talk about him anymore. And he's having a monster season at Tulane. Right? You Josh Ford, the ginger boy tight end at Oak State. Hey boy. Oak State in total. Ollie Gordon in total.
Preston
Stone in his phallic unit.
Yeah.
I mean, the list. The Chicago Cubs, Hoss Hengy. The Chicago Cubs. The Pope. Your own rectum, like all of the things that you've talked about that have just absolutely shriveled up and died.
Coach Gundy.
Mike Gundy. You know, Retzloff scores and they punish him. Never seen it in a football program before. Preston Stone led Northwestern to beat Penn State. Right, but you had him at SMU.
Bro is at Northwestern, and you're trying to sell us on that being a positive move.
So if we wind the clocks back,
bro, like, dude,
when BYU
wind the clocks back a year.
Went to SMU last year, I believe it was, and I told you, hey, they're going to win. You're like, oh no, Preston Stone, man. He dislodged a vocal cord on me last night, but when he was doing that, I realized he's the best quarterback in the history of football.
I need a dick.
And he basically got benched 3 snaps into that game, and we never saw him again. And
I just want to thank you all.
He showed up at the Genital Car Wash in Evanston, Illinois, and you're like, oh!
And it sucks.
Sigh, at least TCU won the rivalry barely, but did you win? I honestly, is there a TCU, and nobody is more passionate about TCU football than Oak State James, followed closely by David Persons.
We show up.
Who's, an actual real TCU fan. We need a change. We need a change. And I think it is remarkable to me that Sonny Dykes has let this program sink to this level.
Oh, he don't know nothing.
I love Sonny. I had the great pleasure of covering him at Cal. I think we all like Sonny Dykes. This is not it. Dave Aranda, this is not it. This isn't it. Kyle Whittingham, this isn't it.
It's time for a change.
And I think it's very difficult to say. It's very difficult to say. Eric Wasikowski. Are you on board with the fact that Sharon Moore is a terrible coach?
Dude, this is so great doing this in person because I can just sit here and watch you just torch these dudes.
You watched the way Michigan won their football game this weekend. And listen, from very much a position of, God, I absolutely hate Michigan football. Living in that position and understanding that Michigan sucks, and they do suck.
Fucking A.
They're not good. And you start looking at their passing numbers. And first of all, I just want to say Washington, Jed Fish should have resigned after this game. There are a few quarterbacks who have regressed the way that we watched Washington.
It's garbage.
But if you look at Homie's numbers, do you guys understand that Bryce Underwood does not throw the ball outside? He only throws the ball down the middle of the field.